Most women are taught from a tender age to embody softness, to cultivate a gentle demeanor, and to navigate the world with an open heart. They are encouraged to be empathetic, nurturing, and pliable, often celebrated for their capacity to absorb and soothe. Yet, beneath this seemingly tranquil surface, within the very core of those who appear the most yielding, often lies an ocean of unexpressed fury, a dormant volcano of rage simmering with an intensity that belies their outwardly serene presence. Have you ever wondered why the woman who seems to be the very embodiment of grace and calm can, when truly pushed, unleash a storm of emotion that leaves you breathless? This isn't a contradiction but a profound psychological truth, a testament to the intricate dance between societal expectations and the raw, untamed landscape of the human psyche. The very act of suppressing one's natural responses, particularly those deemed unfeminine like anger, creates a pressure cooker within, building an immense internal force that must, eventually, find an outlet. Consider the tale of Alara, a woman whose life unfolded like a meticulously painted watercolor, soft hues, delicate lines, and an almost ethereal calm. From childhood, Alara was the good girl, the one who never raised her voice, who always sought harmony, and who silently absorbed the discord of others. Her parents, well-meaning but emotionally distant, praised her placid nature, reinforcing the belief that her value lay in her quiet compliance. When her younger brother, Leo, would throw tantrums, Alara would retreat into her room, muffling the shouts with a pillow, her small hands clasped tight over her ears, not in fear, but in a desperate attempt to contain the rising tide of frustration within her own chest. She learned early that expressing anger, even a whisper of irritation, was met with disapproval, a subtle shifting of affection that felt like a sudden drop in temperature. And so, Alara became a master of emotional camouflage, burying her nascent furies deep within, often transforming them into an exaggerated sweetness or an almost obsessive desire to please. She would bake cookies for Leo after his outbursts, offer a comforting hand to her mother after a silent, tense dinner, all while a quiet resentment, like a tiny seed, took root and began to sprout in the hidden corners of her soul. As Alara blossomed into womanhood, this pattern deepened. Her relationships were characterized by an almost pathological agreeableness. She would concede arguments, swallow insults, and tolerate slights with a stoic smile, her eyes, however, betraying a flicker of something unreadable, a fleeting shadow that vanished as quickly as it appeared. Her friends admired her patience, her boyfriends praised her easygoing nature, and colleagues found her effortlessly approachable. Yet, beneath this placid exterior, the pressure was building. Each swallowed word, each unexpressed boundary, each suppressed frustration was a drop added to an internal reservoir of resentment. She became a conduit for everyone else's emotions, a silent receptacle for their complaints and anxieties, offering solace without ever receiving it in return. This wasn't altruism. It was a deeply ingrained coping mechanism, a way to avoid the terrifying prospect of her own buried rage surfacing. She feared, without fully articulating it, that if she ever allowed that anger to break free, it would consume her, turning her into something ugly and unlovable, a monster entirely at odds with the gentle facade she had so painstakingly constructed. The subtle metaphors she lived by were those of a placid lake, reflecting the sky perfectly, but never revealing the turbulent currents beneath. The contrast between her outward serenity and her inner turmoil was a constant, unspoken battle. One autumn evening, years into her marriage with Michael, a man who, like many, had been drawn to her apparent tranquility, the dam finally broke. Michael, oblivious to the years of silent sacrifice and unspoken hurt, made a careless comment about her overly sensitive nature after she expressed a mild disappointment about a forgotten anniversary. It was a small thing, a microscopic trigger, but it landed on a foundation of decades of suppressed emotion. A strange, almost alien calm descended upon Alara before the storm. Her voice, usually soft and melodious, took on an unfamiliar edge, low and resonant, like a cello string plucked in defiance. "Sensitive?" she echoed, her eyes, usually warm, now held a chilling glint. "You think I'm sensitive? I've been a vault, Michael. A silent, accommodating vault for everyone else's convenience. The words, once unleashed, came in a torrent, a fierce, articulate dissection of every slight, every unacknowledged effort, every moment of self-erasure she had endured. It wasn't a shout, but something far more terrifying. A measured, surgical strike, each word a scalpel carving away years of pretense. Michael, accustomed to her gentle compliance, was stunned into silence, witnessing a side of his wife he never knew existed, a raw, primal force that shimmered with an almost terrifying intensity. The small plot twist was not a sudden explosion, but this quiet, yet utterly devastating articulation of decades of buried emotion. The climax was not a scream, but the chilling realization in Michael's eyes that the gentle woman he thought he knew was a fortress built on repressed pain, and the rage within her, though silent for so long, was now undeniable. This archetypal character, the seemingly soft woman burdened by a deep, hidden rage, embodies the shadow archetype, a concept profoundly explored by Carl Jung. The shadow represents the unconscious aspects of the personality that the conscious ego has repressed, often because they are considered unacceptable or contradictory to one's self-image. For Alara, anger, a natural human emotion, was exiled to her shadow, creating a deep imbalance. Her journey illuminates the critical importance of integrating these repressed aspects of the self for true individuation, the process of becoming a whole and complete individual. When you find yourself in a similar position, feeling the slow burn of unexpressed emotion, consider this: what parts of yourself have you deemed unacceptable? What emotions have you exiled to the shadows of your psyche for the sake of societal approval or perceived harmony? You must understand that suppressing rage doesn't diminish it. It merely transforms it, often into passive aggression, resentment, or even physical ailments. To truly heal, you must embark on the courageous journey of shadow work, acknowledging and processing these exiled emotions. Begin by allowing yourself to feel them without judgment. Journaling, therapy, or even expressive arts can provide safe outlets. Remember, your true strength lies not in the absence of anger, but in your ability to acknowledge, understand, and constructively channel its immense power. It is in embracing the full spectrum of your emotional landscape, including the fiery depths, that you find genuine peace and authenticity. The profound connection between the suppression of emotion and the yearning for control is a subtle, yet powerful undercurrent in the lives of many. We often observe that the softest individuals, those who seem to effortlessly bend and flow with life's currents, are simultaneously grappling with an almost desperate need to control their internal and external worlds. This paradox isn't accidental. It's a profound psychological response to a lifetime of internalizing the belief that their authentic, unedited emotional expression is dangerous or unacceptable. This brings us to the second crucial aspect of our exploration: the illusion of control as a shield against the perceived chaos of unbridled emotion, particularly rage. What would you think if I told you that the very act of trying to control every ripple on the surface of your emotional pond often creates deeper, more turbulent currents beneath? The renowned psychologist Carl Rogers, a pioneer in humanistic psychology, posited that the curious paradox is that when I accept myself just as I am, then I can change. This seemingly simple statement holds a profound truth for those who carry hidden rage. The relentless pursuit of control, often manifesting as perfectionism, people-pleasing, or an aversion to conflict, is an attempt to create an environment where the feared emotion anger will never surface. It's a refusal to accept the natural, sometimes messy, reality of one's own emotional landscape. When a woman has been conditioned to believe that her anger is a flaw, a dangerous aberration, she will construct elaborate psychological defenses to keep it contained. This often involves a hypervigilance towards her own feelings and the reactions of others, an almost compulsive need to preemptively manage situations to avoid any potential trigger. This desire for control isn't born of strength, but often from a deep-seated fear of vulnerability and the unpredictable power of unacknowledged emotions. It's an internal debate, a constant negotiation with the self, attempting to quash any dissenting voice. Consider the intricate internal world of Serafina, a woman whose life was a testament to meticulous planning and unwavering composure. From her morning routine, precisely timed down to the minute, to her impeccably organized home and perfectly curated social life, Serafina lived by an invisible rulebook of self-control. She was the one who always had the right words, the perfect gift, the calmest demeanor in a crisis. Her friends would often marvel, "How do you do it, Serafina? You're always so together." What they didn't see was the exhausting internal monologue, the constant self-monitoring, the subtle clenching of her jaw when someone deviated from her unspoken expectations. This wasn't merely a preference for order. It was a desperate attempt to maintain an illusion of predictability, a bulwark against the perceived chaos of her own repressed anger. Every misplaced item, every late arrival, every unexpected change to her plans felt like a direct assault on her carefully constructed fortress of control, stirring the suppressed resentment within. Her childhood had been a masterclass in emotional restraint. Her mother, a woman prone to unpredictable and explosive fits of temper, had instilled in young Serafina a deep-seated fear of emotional volatility. To avoid her mother's wrath, Serafina learned to become invisible, to anticipate every mood swing, to be agreeable to the point of self-erasure. She developed an uncanny ability to read a room, to detect the slightest tremor of discontent, and to swiftly adjust her own behavior to restore harmony. This hypervigilance, a survival mechanism from childhood, translated into an adult need for absolute control, not just over her own emotions, but over the environment around her. She believed, unconsciously, that if she could just control enough variables, if she could just make everything perfect, the terrifying, uncontrolled rage she witnessed in her mother and feared within herself would never surface. This became her internal debate, perfection or emotional eruption. Her internal monologue was a constant stream of what-if scenarios, always seeking to prevent the hypothetical emotional collapse. This relentless pursuit of external control was, in essence, a projection of her internal battle with her own shadow. As Jung would argue, what we deny within ourselves often manifests as an attempt to control the external world. Serafina's need for order was not a sign of a well-adjusted personality, but a meticulously crafted prison for her own unacknowledged fury. She could not tolerate imperfection in others because it mirrored the imperfection, the unruly anger she vehemently denied in herself. This played out in her relationships, often leading to subtle but persistent disappointments. When her partner, David, a free-spirited artist, would inevitably stray from her unspoken expectations, leaving paintbrushes out, forgetting a minor detail, or simply embracing spontaneity, Serafina would not erupt. Instead, a cold, silent distance would descend. Her eyes would harden, her smile would become brittle, and her voice, though still soft, would carry an almost imperceptible edge of steel. David, sensing the shift but unable to pinpoint its source, would often apologize for transgressions he didn't fully understand, perpetuating Serafina's belief that her subtle manipulation of control was effective. This was the small plot twist. Her control wasn't loud or aggressive, but a silent, pervasive force. The emotional climax for Serafina came not in an explosion, but in a profound, unsettling stillness. She had meticulously planned a surprise birthday party for David, ensuring every detail was perfect. Yet, a sudden, torrential downpour forced them to move the celebration indoors, disrupting her carefully orchestrated garden party. As guests huddled inside, a flicker of something raw and furious crossed Serafina's face, a glimpse of the unadulterated rage she fought so hard to conceal. David, seeing it for the first time, gently took her hand. "Serafina," he said, his voice calm, "It's okay. It's just rain. We'll still have fun." In that moment, the illusion of her control shattered, not by an external force, but by the stark realization that she could not control the weather or David's easy acceptance of imperfection. The rage, momentarily exposed, was swiftly reinterred, but the crack in her facade had been seen. It was a moment of vulnerability she immediately regretted, but one that opened a sliver of possibility for authentic connection. The truth of Carl Rogers' words resonated. Until she could accept the rain within herself, the messy, unpredictable parts, She couldn't truly change or allow others to fully see her. The constant need for control, often a hallmark of individuals who suppress their rage, is a powerful manifestation of the ego's attempts to maintain a false sense of security. As B.F. Skinner might suggest, this behavior is reinforced because, in the short term, it appears to avert the perceived catastrophe of emotional expression. However, it perpetuates a cycle of internal suffering. For you, if you recognize this relentless need to control, if you find yourself constantly adjusting, managing, and policing your environment and emotions, ask yourself, what am I truly afraid of losing control over? Is it the judgment of others, the unpredictable nature of life, or the raw, untamed power of your own buried emotions? To truly heal, you must begin to loosen your grip, to consciously surrender to the inherent unpredictability of life and the natural ebb and flow of your feelings. Practice radical acceptance of what is, rather than what you believe should be. Allow for imperfections both in yourself and in others. Engage in practices that encourage letting go, like meditation or simply observing your emotions without judgment. The path to freedom lies not in tighter control, but in the courageous act of releasing it, allowing your authentic self, with all its complexities, to finally breathe. This allows the hidden wellspring of your rage not to explode destructively, but to be transformed into a potent source of self-assertion and healthy boundary setting. The final layer of this profound psychological inquiry delves into the transformative power of self-worth. For the woman who carries deep, unacknowledged rage, the journey from suppression to liberation often culminates in a radical reevaluation of her inherent value. This isn't merely about feeling good about oneself. It's about fundamentally understanding that one's worth is intrinsic, not contingent upon external validation, perfect compliance, or the seamless suppression of challenging emotions. It's a journey into the heart of modern self-worth, where the acceptance of one's complete emotional spectrum, including the fiery depths of rage, becomes the ultimate act of self-love and empowerment. Has this ever happened to you, where you felt a deep-seated truth about your value begin to surface, even amidst the clamor of external expectations? William James, one of the foundational figures of modern psychology, often spoke of the will to believe and the profound impact of our beliefs on our reality. For women who suppress their rage, a core belief often lies deeply embedded, that their anger, or any negative emotion, diminishes their worth. This belief is a powerful inhibitor, forcing them to perform an emotional sleight of hand, projecting an image of unwavering serenity while their inner world churns. The healing process, therefore, is not about eliminating the rage, but about transforming the belief system that deems it unacceptable. It's about recognizing that rage, like all emotions, serves a purpose, often as a signal that boundaries have been crossed, or that a fundamental need is unmet. The empowering feminist perspective demands that women reclaim their full emotional landscape, asserting that their anger is not a flaw, but a powerful, necessary part of their authentic self. Let us turn our gaze to the story of Anya, a woman whose entire existence seemed to be a performance designed to earn love and acceptance. From her earliest memories, Anya absorbed the unspoken message that her worth was conditional, dependent on her sweetness, her quiet compliance, and her ability to anticipate and fulfill the needs of others. Her parents, though loving, often praised her for being such a little angel, inadvertently creating an internal blueprint where any deviation from angelic behavior felt like a catastrophic failure of self. As a teenager, she saw her friends express frustration or anger, and while a part of her yearned to do the same, the ingrained fear of rejection held her captive. She cultivated an almost ethereal aura of kindness, becoming the go-to confidant, the gentle mediator, the one who always saw the best in everyone, even when they clearly did not see the best in her. This external persona, while widely admired, was a heavy cloak, stifling the vibrant, passionate, and yes, sometimes fiercely angry woman beneath. She learned to disassociate from her own needs, a profound act of self-abandonment, all in the service of maintaining an image of unwavering agreeableness. The true conflict for Anya lay not in external battles, but in the internal war against her own authenticity. Each time she bit her tongue, each time she forced a smile when she wanted to scream, she eroded a piece of her own self-worth. She attracted relationships where her accommodating nature was exploited, where her boundaries or lack thereof were consistently trampled. Partners saw her softness as an invitation to take without giving, to dominate without challenge. Colleagues mistook her quietness for weakness, piling on extra work, knowing she would never refuse. Her suppressed rage, denied an overt voice, manifested as a persistent hum of exhaustion, a subtle undercurrent of bitterness, and a nagging sense of being perpetually overlooked. Her body, the silent witness to her internal suppression, began to ache with inexplicable pains, a somatic protest against the emotional suffocation. This was the quiet, insidious build-up, the minor climaxes of her body crying out, trying to tell her what her voice could not. The pivotal moment for Anya arrived not in a dramatic confrontation, but in a quiet, piercing realization that echoed the wisdom of Carl Rogers. The only person who can truly fulfill your needs is you. She was attending a self-development workshop, ostensibly about communication, but it was the deep dive into self-compassion that struck her to her core. A therapist spoke about the inherent value of all emotions, even the unpleasant ones, as vital messengers. Anya recalled a recent incident. Her boss had unfairly criticized her work, publicly diminishing her efforts. Her initial reaction had been her usual placid acceptance, followed by hours of internal rumination and self-blame. But then, a new, unfamiliar spark ignited within her. It wasn't hatred for her boss, but a sudden, fierce anger on behalf of herself. How dare he? Her inner voice screamed. I worked tirelessly on that. This nascent rage was not destructive. It was protective. It was her inner self, her anima, finally rising to defend her. This was the true plot twist. The rage wasn't a monster. It was a guardian. The ultimate emotional climax for Anya came when she realized that this anger, this feeling of indignation, was not something to be feared or suppressed, but a powerful indicator of her self-worth demanding recognition. She didn't march into her boss's office and yell. Instead, she sat down and calmly, but firmly, crafted an email outlining her contributions, her perspective on the criticism, and respectfully requesting a private meeting to discuss it further. This was an unprecedented act of self-assertion for Anya. When the meeting occurred, she felt her knees tremble, but her voice remained steady. She spoke not from aggression, but from a place of quiet conviction, her words imbued with the dignity of someone who finally understood her own value. Her boss, accustomed to her deference, was taken aback, but ultimately respected her newfound stance. Anya felt an incredible lightness, not because the situation was perfectly resolved, but because she had honored herself. The rage, acknowledged and understood, had transformed into a clear, strong boundary, a testament to her blossoming self-worth. This experience was not about vengeance, but about claiming her space and voice in the world. The journey of the soft woman carrying deep rage often concludes with the profound understanding that true power lies not in suppressing one's emotional truth, but in embracing it. As Albert Bandura's social cognitive theory suggests, observing and internalizing the negative consequences of unexpressed emotion can lead to a shift in self-efficacy, a belief in one's capacity to exert control over one's own functioning and events. For you, if you've resonated with Anya's story, understand that your inherent self-worth is not diminished by your anger. In fact, it is often expressed through it, when channeled constructively. Begin by practicing self-compassion, extending to yourself the same kindness you so readily offer others. Journaling about your suppressed emotions, without judgment, can be a powerful first step in bringing them into the light. Seek out therapeutic guidance if you feel overwhelmed, allowing a professional to help you navigate the complex terrain of your inner world. Embrace practices that connect you to your body and your emotions, whether it's the stillness of meditation, the expressive flow of yoga, the release found in a vigorous run, or the grounding presence of nature. Remember, the rage you carry is not a flaw. It is a signal, a powerful internal compass pointing towards areas in your life where your boundaries have been breached, your needs have been neglected, or your authenticity has been compromised. Allow it to transform from a destructive, internal inferno into a purifying fire that burns away self-doubt, and illuminates your path to self-reclamation. Your internal power is immense, capable of transforming perceived weaknesses into unparalleled strengths. Let go of the need for external validation, for it is fleeting and unreliable. Embrace the quiet confidence that comes from knowing and accepting every facet of your being, even the parts that once seemed unacceptable. This journey culminates in a peaceful inner rebirth, a powerful stillness born not of suppression, but of integration and acceptance. If you find this interesting or see yourself in the story, please leave a comment to help our channel feel from you. And if you know someone who needs this video, please send them this video as a necessary share. Thanks for watching. The end.